Lucifer. His name alone is enough to stir both fear and fascination. For centuries, he has been painted as the villain, the deceiver, the fallen star cast out of heaven. But what if the story you've been told is only the surface of a much darker, more complex truth? What if the most radiant angel ever created carried within him a secret that heaven itself tried to veil? Behind the sermons, behind the traditions, lies a hidden narrative, one that reveals not just the fall of Lucifer, but the terrifying mystery of pride, rebellion, and destiny written into the fabric of creation. This is not just another Bible story. It's a revelation that shakes the ground beneath your beliefs. To uncover it is to step into a chamber of shadows where beauty and betrayal walk hand in hand. Before we go deeper, I want you to mark this moment. Type 777 in the comments as a sign of light overcoming darkness, as your declaration that truth will not remain hidden. Every comment, every like, every share becomes part of this journey, and to those who've supported through Super. Thanks, know this. Your generosity keeps this fire alive, and I am deeply grateful. Now prepare yourself. The veil is about to lift. The untold story of the fallen angel. Lucifer's dark secret is waiting to be revealed. Let us step into the heart of the mystery together. Lucifer's dark secret. The untold story of the fallen angel in the Bible. Before the dawn of creation, before the world as we know it was ever formed, the biblical God first brought forth the heavens vast and resplendent, filled with light, mystery, and a harmony beyond human comprehension. Within these celestial realms, he created the cherubs, angels, and archangels, beings of extraordinary power and purpose, each radiating glory and obedience to their Creator. The archangels stood above all, exalted as the chief messengers of God, entrusted with the weight of divine commands and the guardianship of cosmic order. Among these exalted beings, one shone with a brilliance unmatched, Lucifer, the highest archangel of old. He was a creature of such staggering beauty and perfection that even the heavens themselves seemed to bow in awe. Every aspect of him was crafted flawlessly, from the radiance of his being to the strength that pulsed through his essence. Ezekiel 28:15 proclaimed, "Thou wast perfect in thy ways from the day that thou wast created," affirming that from the very moment of his formation, Lucifer embodied divine excellence. Yet it was this very perfection, this unmatched radiance, that sowed the seeds of his downfall. In the presence of his peers, his beauty and power were not merely admired, they incited envy and whispers of comparison. Over time, pride took root in his heart. He observed his unparalleled splendor, his commanding presence, and his ability to move and influence the celestial hierarchy, and a dangerous thought began to take hold, that perhaps he was destined for more than obedience, that perhaps he, not God, should hold dominion over all creation. His mind, once focused on service, now churned with ambition, his spirit inflamed by a desire to ascend beyond his station. The perfection that had once been a testament to God's craftsmanship became in Lucifer's eyes evidence of his own superiority. He was so flawless, so divine, and so formidable compared to the others that he allowed arrogance to overshadow reverence, and soon the notion grew in him with terrifying clarity he wanted to be God himself. This moment, subtle yet profound, marked the beginning of a cosmic tension that would ripple through eternity. One wonders how a being of such purity, entrusted with the highest knowledge and the closest proximity to God's glory, could permit pride to whisper so seductively. Could a heart so radiant truly falter so completely? Or is there a warning embedded here for all who gaze upon their own strengths with unchecked ambition? The tale of Lucifer begins not in rebellion, but in perfection. An extraordinary gift that became a perilous snare, and a reminder that even the greatest light can cast the darkest shadow. Now, having been granted a station closer to God than any other, and having arguably comprehended the divine will and essence more fully than any other created being, Lucifer began to see himself not as a servant of God, but as a contender for sovereignty itself. In the chilling words recorded by Isaiah 14:12-14, The prophet relays what is widely interpreted as Lucifer's declaration: "I will ascend to heaven. I will raise my throne above the stars of God." These words reveal not mere ambition, but a dangerous audacity, a desire not simply to rival God, but to transcend him, to claim a dominion that even the Almighty had not occupied. It is a thought so audacious that it seems almost incomprehensible to imagine a created being radiant and powerful, though he was plotting to outshine the one who had fashioned the cosmos. Lucifer's pride did not merely whisper within him. It roared, shaping his perception and fueling a conviction that he alone was fit to command. He believed that his understanding of God, his unparalleled intellect and knowledge of the heavens, gave him the right, the destiny to sit upon a throne higher than any other, perhaps even higher than God himself. Such was the perilous allure of pride. It blinded him, twisting his brilliance into arrogance and his devotion into rebellion. The perfection that had once reflected God's glory now became the instrument of his self-deception. This pride did not remain a private temptation, it demanded action. Lucifer began to weave his influence among the angels, exploiting his superior intellect and charisma to sway them toward his vision. Subtle manipulations, careful persuasion, and the seductive promise of power led some to follow willingly or unknowingly into his orbit. The seeds of insurrection were sown not with brute force, but with cunning and persuasion, and pride was the invisible hand guiding every step. In this, there is a lesson hidden within the cosmic drama. Intellect and knowledge, unmatched though they may be, can become instruments of deception when divorced from humility. Even the brightest minds, if blinded by self-importance, can mislead themselves and others into paths of ruin. While a remnant of angels remained steadfast in their loyalty to God, a significant number swayed by Lucifer's charisma. Brilliance and persuasive vision began to regard him as the preeminent being among them. These angels, who would come to be known as fallen angels, allowed themselves to be captivated by his promises and the allure of shared dominion. Yet even as Ezekiel 28:15 affirms that Lucifer was perfect in thy ways from the day that thou wast created, it also reveals the creeping shadow within him: iniquity was found in thee. His once flawless perfection was now marred by pride, ambition, and deception, diminishing the radiance that had made him peerless. The celestial harmony trembled as allegiance split, and with roughly a third of the angels rallying to his side, Lucifer initiated a violent and audacious assault upon the heavens themselves, a war whose magnitude shook the very foundations of creation. But he had underestimated the strength and resolve of Michael the archangel, whose authority and might were unmatched in the celestial order. Michael rose in defense of the throne, his presence radiating divine power that Lucifer had not anticipated. Confronted with resistance he could not overcome, doubt began to gnaw at him. For the first time, the being who had once considered himself infallible questioned the limits of his own perfection. Unable to triumph in his angelic form, Lucifer's rebellion demanded a transformation, an outward manifestation of the darkness growing within. He became a dragon, a fearsome symbol of his rebellion and corrupted majesty, as the book of Revelation records in 12:7-8. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. The war raged not merely as a battle of strength, but as a clash of ideals: loyalty versus ambition, humility versus pride, obedience versus rebellion. One can sense the tension of a once perfect being, brought low by the very qualities that had made him glorious. The heavens, once a realm of serene light and order, became the stage for a cosmic tragedy, a struggle that would echo through eternity. In these events lies a chilling reflection. Even brilliance and favor can be turned into instruments of downfall, and unchecked pride can ignite conflict that reshapes the order of all creation. Why then did Lucifer dare to rise at all to challenge the very throne of God? Some would call it courage, but a closer look reveals it as the most perilous form of arrogance, a blindness born of pride and untempered ambition. He moved as though invincible, certain that his brilliance and perceived superiority would secure him dominion. Yet even the mightiest of angels, when standing against the will of the Almighty, find their strength insufficient. It was Archangel Michael who met him in battle, and through Michael's might, Lucifer's rebellion was decisively crushed. Remarkably, this confrontation demonstrates the immense power of God. He did not have to descend himself to vanquish his most exalted creation. Whether one interprets Michael as an instrument of God's authority or as a manifestation of divine power, the outcome is the same. Lucifer's defeat is absolute, irrefutable, and irrevocable. The consequences of this rebellion extend far beyond a wounded ego. Revelation 12:9 records the stark and unyielding result. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Here the text introduces the other names by which Lucifer would come to be known. Satan, the adversary, the deceiver. His fall is total. No longer radiant, no longer the highest among the angels, he loses everything that once defined him: authority, glory, purpose, and the favor of God. What was once perfection is now corruption. What was once the pinnacle of heavenly beauty, now a symbol of pride and ruin. This defeat is not merely the loss of pride, it is the complete unmaking of a being who sought to ascend above his Creator. The tale serves as both a cosmic lesson and a mirror to human experience. Ambition, untethered from humility, intelligence, divorced from reverence and beauty or talent, inflated into pride, can lead to destruction far beyond the loss of status. They can unmake one entirely. Lucifer's fall is eternal, a cautionary shadow that stretches across the heavens and into the hearts of those who might overestimate their own light in the absence of true obedience. Lucifer's fall was total and irreversible. He was not merely reprimanded or chastised. He was cast out from heaven, expelled from the realm of light, and forced to descend into a new, harsh reality along with all the angels who had chosen to follow him. The brilliance that had once radiated from him, the perfection that had set him above all other creations, was extinguished, replaced with the shadow of his rebellion. No longer the exalted archangel, no longer the one whose presence once illuminated the heavens, he became the embodiment of opposition, the antithesis of the glory he had once known. Luke 10:18 records Jesus observing this cataclysmic fall. I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. In a single moment, the splendor of the highest archangel transformed into a symbol of despair and defiance, his descent as sudden and striking as a flash of lightning across the heavens. Yet even in this ignominious exile, Lucifer's story does not end in silence or submission. Revelation 20:10 reveals the ultimate destiny that awaits him. The devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. This sentence, eternal and unyielding, is the final judgment for one who sought to rival his Creator. But even before the flames of final judgment would consume him, Lucifer's heart was consumed by defiance. From the very moment he was expelled, from the instant he felt the absence of God's presence pressing upon him, he began to scheme. Every thought, every plan, every whisper of his being turned toward revenge, toward deception, toward drawing as many as he could into his own rebellion. The fall of Lucifer is more than a tale of pride punished. It is a warning of how brilliance and beauty, when corrupted by ambition and envy, can become instruments of ruin. It is a narrative that resonates beyond the heavens, a reflection of the dangers inherent in turning gifts into idols, in allowing superiority to warp purpose, and in letting defiance harden into relentless malice. Lucifer's exile and plotting remind us that the consequences of rebellion once set into motion reverberate through eternity, touching all who are drawn into the struggle between light and darkness. With his fall complete and his favor with God irrevocably lost, Lucifer's wrath turned toward the crown of God's creation, mankind itself. The being who had once radiated with heavenly brilliance now plotted in shadow, seeking to undermine the creatures who had inherited the trust and intimacy that had been denied him. When God created Adam and Eve, he forbade them from eating from the tree of knowledge, issuing a command that carried the weight of divine authority. This prohibition, absolute and singular, became the stage upon which Lucifer would weave his deception, turning obedience into temptation. Seizing the opportunity to defy God once more, he infiltrated the Garden of Eden, adopting the guise of a serpent creature of subtlety and cunning. Yet the scriptures themselves never explicitly identify this serpent as Lucifer. Genesis 3:1 describes it only as more subtle than any beast of the field, leaving the connection to later theological interpretation rather than direct statement. Over centuries, this association solidified in tradition, reinforced by passages such as Revelation 12:9, where he is called that old serpent, hinting at a continuity of deception that spans from heaven to earth. Some scholars argue that Lucifer did not physically become the serpent, but rather manipulated it, using the creature as a vessel to speak his cunning words. Scripture, however, offers no definitive answer. The ambiguity of his role in Eden underscores the nature of deception itself, insidious, indirect, and capable of reshaping destinies without overt confrontation. Whether as the serpent or as the shadow behind it, Lucifer's malice targeted the very heart of human choice, exploiting curiosity and vulnerability to challenge God's command. This moment in Eden resonates beyond the biblical narrative, illustrating how pride, envy, and cunning ambition can corrupt, subtly bending creation against the Creator and leaving an eternal lesson about vigilance, obedience, and the consequences of yielding to hidden temptation. Furthermore, when examining the origin of Lucifer's name, we discover a paradox wrapped in language and time. Lucifer is Latin meaning light-bringer, morning star, or even the planet Venus, a name that evokes brilliance, prominence, and celestial majesty. Yet this raises a profound question. How could a Latin term appear in a Hebrew manuscript written centuries before Latin even existed as a spoken tongue? The mystery deepens when we turn to the 14th chapter of Isaiah, which remarkably is the only place in Scripture where the name Lucifer is explicitly mentioned. Here the text has been translated over centuries, and the Latinized title Lucifer was applied by later scholars to convey the grandeur, the radiance, and the tragic downfall of the figure in question. Isaiah 14:12 proclaims, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit." The language is both awe-inspiring and terrifying, depicting ambition, pride, and the fatal hubris of one who reaches beyond his place. Many readers and theologians interpret this passage as a direct reference to Lucifer the devil, seeing in it the echo of the fallen archangel who sought to usurp God himself. Yet an alternate interpretation exists, one that grounds the words in history rather than heaven. Some scholars argue that Isaiah was addressing a fallen Babylonian king, a mortal who had arrogantly believed himself invincible, persecuting Israel with unbridled pride and cruelty. In this view, the prophecy is less about a celestial being and more about human folly, the pride of a ruler who placed himself above divine authority only to be humbled and cast down. This duality, the celestial versus the historical, invites deeper reflection. Whether Isaiah spoke of Lucifer the angel or a mortal king, the warning is clear. Pride, ambition, and the desire to exalt oneself above what is ordained inevitably lead to downfall. It is a narrative that resonates not just across Scripture, but across human experience, cautioning all who are tempted to overreach, to forget their place, and to mistake brilliance for divinity. In fact, the use of the name Lucifer is far from universal across all biblical translations. In many versions, Isaiah does not use Lucifer at all. Instead, he refers to the figure as the morning star, or the Hebrew term Hillel, a poetic reference to Venus, the brightest object in the dawn sky. This subtle distinction paints a different picture. The king of Babylon, whose identity Scripture leaves deliberately ambiguous, was once held in high esteem, a ruler whose influence and prestige seemed unshakable, only to be brought low, as Isaiah predicted. The imagery evokes brilliance turned to ruin, glory, lost, and the inescapable consequences of pride. So how did this historically grounded prophecy transform into the legend of Lucifer the fallen angel? The truth is, we cannot say with certainty. What we do know is that by the time early Christian scribes were translating and copying texts in Latin, they had the opportunity and perhaps the inclination to insert a narrative that aligned with the evolving theology of angels, sin, and cosmic rebellion. They may have seen Isaiah's dramatic imagery of a morning star cast down and recognized a perfect vessel to illustrate the story of a celestial being who dared to challenge the Creator. Through these interpretations, the text was gradually reframed, and the mortal king of Babylon became entwined with the figure of Lucifer, the archetype of pride, rebellion, and ultimate downfall. This fusion of history and myth reveals how stories evolve shaped by those who record them and highlights the complex interplay between scripture translation and tradition. What begins as a cautionary tale about a human ruler becomes over time a cosmic allegory of pride and defiance, a tale that continues to captivate, warn, and haunt those who seek to understand the mysteries of heaven and the depths of ambition. By the time King James I commissioned his English translation of the Scriptures, the influence of Saint Jerome and his Latin Vulgate had left an indelible mark. The name Lucifer had been firmly incorporated. What was once a poetic description of a Babylonian king brought low by his own arrogance, a ruler punished for his pride and hubris, was now transformed into the narrative of a celestial being, the fallen angel who dared to challenge God himself. Over time, the story of this earthly monarch was interlaced with the cosmic rebellion of heaven, and Lucifer became firmly embedded in the collective imagination as the archetype of defiance, ambition, and tragic downfall. For many believers, this version would become canonical, a lens through which the cosmic struggle between obedience and pride could be understood. The same tension between mortal history and angelic allegory appears in Ezekiel 28:15, where the prophet declares, "Thou wast perfect in thy ways from the day thou wast created till iniquity was found in thee." While countless interpretations assume Ezekiel is speaking directly of Lucifer, closer study suggests he may have been addressing an unnamed king of Tyre, a man whose pride and self-exaltation rivaled that of any celestial being. Here again, human ambition mirrors divine rebellion, and the lines between history and myth blur. The text leaves us suspended in uncertainty. Are we witnessing the fall of an angelic prince, or the cautionary tale of a mortal king undone by his own hubris? This ambiguity only deepens the mystery, compelling the reader to reflect on the fine line between pride and destruction, whether in heaven or on earth. In the final reckoning, no matter how one interprets the story of Lucifer, whether as a proud Babylonian king or as the most exalted of angels who defied God, the lesson resounds with undeniable clarity. The ancient wisdom of Proverbs 16:18 warns us, "Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall." This is not merely an admonition from the distant past, but a warning that resonates through every era. Those who inflate their own importance risk being undone by forces greater than themselves. Like Lucifer, whose brilliance became his undoing, any soul that grows arrogant overestimates its strength or presumes to rival that which is far beyond its reach is treading a dangerous path. The narrative calls us to a quiet humility, a recognition of the limits of our power, and the necessity of gratitude for the gifts already bestowed. Ambition is not condemned. It is the reckless, impulsive assertion of superiority that brings ruin. The tale whispers across the centuries, "Aspire, yes, but temper desire with wisdom, temper pride with reverence, and temper action with patience." For those who fail to heed this counsel may, like Lucifer or the haughty kings of old, discover that the higher one climbs in arrogance, the more catastrophic the fall. In reflecting upon this story, we are reminded that true strength lies not in domination or defiance, but in humility and alignment with a greater order, and in the courage to recognize our own limitations. It is a timeless mirror for our own lives, urging vigilance over pride, and reminding us that even the most brilliant of creations, if blinded by self-exaltation, can become the architects of their own undoing. The story also carries a stark reminder about the value of reverence toward our elders, our parents, and those who came before us. These are the figures who, through experience, guidance, or divine providence, hold wisdom that we may be too young, too impatient, or too prideful to grasp. Lucifer, in his brilliance and perfection, became blinded by the illusion of superiority. He believed himself stronger than God, the very Creator who had fashioned him as the highest of all angels. In his arrogance, he rejected the authority that had given him purpose, turning his gifts into weapons of defiance. This profound act of rebellion did not go unanswered. Lucifer's prideful disrespect precipitated his downfall, leading to a banishment so absolute that it echoes through the ages. The narrative leaves no ambiguity. Those who refuse humility, who dismiss the wisdom of those who came before, or who presume to rival what they cannot comprehend, set themselves on a path toward consequences that are not only inevitable, but severe. The tale of Lucifer thus becomes more than a story of cosmic rebellion. It is a warning written into the very fabric of existence, a lesson that transcends time, urging respect, caution, and the disciplined acknowledgement of wisdom greater than our own. The tale of Lucifer's rebellion against God extends far beyond the cosmic drama of heaven. It carries lessons that resonate deeply with our human experience, revealing truths about pride, obedience, humility, and the consequences of defiance. At its core, the story is a mirror reflecting the dangers of elevating oneself above wisdom, guidance, and natural order. Lucifer, despite being the most magnificent of all angels, believed that his brilliance, his beauty, and his strength placed him above even the Creator himself. He allowed arrogance to cloud discernment, and in doing so, he set in motion a chain of events that led to his total downfall. This is a stark reminder that no matter how gifted or talented one may be, there is a line that cannot be crossed. The line between confidence and hubris, between ambition and rebellion. Proverbs 16:18 warns us with unflinching clarity, "Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall." This is not merely ancient wisdom. It is a principle that repeats itself in every era, in the corridors of power, in the spheres of influence, and within the private recesses of our hearts. Lucifer's story teaches us the importance of recognizing the sources of authority and the wisdom embedded in those who came before us. In many ways, the angels who remained loyal to God can be seen as those who understood the value of humility and the strength in obedience. Their allegiance was not born of fear alone, but of insight and discernment. They comprehended that true power is not defined by self-exaltation, but by alignment with divine order. Similarly, in human life, respecting mentors, elders, and the traditions of our culture is not a sign of weakness. It is acknowledgement that knowledge often transcends individual capability. To dismiss this guidance as irrelevant or outdated, as Lucifer dismissed God's authority, is to risk a fall of one's own design. In modern terms, ambition without temperance, genius without discipline or freedom, without responsibility, can mirror the same catastrophic trajectory. Another profound lesson lies in understanding the duality of gifts and responsibilities. Lucifer was endowed with immense beauty, intellect, and influence qualities that should have been channels for service, protection, and enlightenment. Instead, he weaponized these gifts for self-interest, using his superior intellect to manipulate and seduce a third of the angels into rebellion. In contemporary life, this teaches that our talents and abilities are not solely for self-aggrandizement. Wealth, knowledge, or skill, when pursued purely for ego or status, can become instruments of harm both to oneself and to others. Conversely, humility transforms talent into legacy. It allows influence to inspire rather than dominate, and power to uplift rather than subjugate. The narrative of Lucifer also warns us of the seductive nature of pride. Pride is often quiet, subtle, and insidious. It masquerades as self-assurance, excellence, or ambition. Yet it blinds the individual to reality and accountability. In Lucifer's case, pride distorted perception, convincing him that he could rival God himself. In our lives, pride can appear in subtler forms, dismissing feedback from colleagues, refusing to admit mistakes, or undervaluing the perspectives of others. Left unchecked, These small seeds of arrogance can grow into patterns that jeopardize relationships, careers, and spiritual well-being. By observing Lucifer's catastrophic end, his banishment, loss of glory, and eternal torment, we see a vivid illustration of what unfolds when pride becomes a guiding principle rather than a cautionary whisper. Finally, the story underscores the importance of resilience, discernment, and moral vigilance. While Lucifer fell, the angels who remained steadfast serve as examples of the rewards of integrity and alignment with what is just and true. Life constantly presents choices where moral clarity must outweigh desire, where the easy path of self-interest tempts against the disciplined path of righteousness. We are called to recognize that every decision, every act of hubris or humility contributes to the trajectory of our lives, just as every allegiance in heaven contributed to the outcome of the celestial war. In conclusion, Lucifer's narrative is far more than a tale of cosmic rebellion. It is a blueprint for understanding the consequences of pride, the value of obedience, and the power of humility. It teaches us to wield our gifts with wisdom, to honor those who guide us, and to recognize that true strength is measured not by the ability to dominate, but by the courage to align with higher principles. The fallen angel's story whispers across the centuries, warning that arrogance, if left unchecked, leads not only to personal ruin, but to the corruption of those around us. And in observing the trajectory from brilliance to banishment, we are invited to reflect, to temper ambition with prudence, and to navigate life with reverence for the order that sustains us. As we close the chapter on the story of Lucifer, the fallen angel, one thing becomes abundantly clear. Pride, unchecked ambition, and arrogance are forces that can unravel even the most perfect of beings. Lucifer's journey from the highest archangel, radiant and revered, to the one cast out, the great deceiver, is a timeless reminder that no matter how gifted, powerful, or intelligent we may be, humility and alignment with higher principles are the true markers of lasting greatness. Proverbs 16:18 warns us, "Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall." And this lesson resonates not only in heaven, but in the very fabric of our everyday lives. In today's world, we face our own heavenly tests, moments when ambition tempts us to overreach, when ego blinds us to wisdom, when impatience drives us to chase shortcuts at the expense of integrity. Just like Lucifer, we can become so enthralled with our own brilliance that we forget the foundations that made us strong, the guidance of mentors, the support of loved ones, the moral compass that keeps us grounded. And yet there is hope embedded in this narrative. The story of the loyal angels reminds us that steadfastness, discernment, and humility always yield strength far greater than pride ever could. Personally, I see in this story a call to reflection. It challenges me and each of us to examine where arrogance may be creeping into our decisions, where impatience tempts us to forsake wisdom, and where gratitude is being overshadowed by self-importance. It is a reminder that true power is not the power to dominate, but the power to serve, to uplift, and to act with integrity in every choice we make. As we internalize this lesson, I encourage you to take a moment to apply it in your own life. Align your actions with humility. Honor those who guide you, and remember that every gift you've been given is meant to be used wisely, not to inflate ego. Let this story of Lucifer be a cautionary tale, but also a source of inspiration. Greatness lies not in being above others, but in rising above one's own flaws. If this reflection resonates with you, show your support by hitting that like button, sharing this video to inspire others, and subscribing to the channel for more insights into divine truths and spiritual lessons. Don't forget to click the bell icon so you never miss a story that challenges and uplifts your spirit. Leave a comment below. Your thoughts, your reflections, your own experiences with pride and humility can spark meaningful conversations. And to all of you, whether you've supported us through a super thanks or simply by being here, I want to say thank you. Your presence strengthens this community, and may God's wisdom and guidance continue to illuminate your path every single day. Stay grounded, remain humble, and let your light shine not in pride but in purpose.